Hi! A couple quick things before we get started. One, yes, my hair is very different and I made a whole video about it on my own channel. It's really boring, but if you care, you can watch that. Two, we didn't upload videos last week because of me. It was my fault, so sorry. Three, Laura will probably say as much in her video, but she didn't upload a video because this week's topic is kind of similar to the previous topic and she was like, fuck it, I'll just roll it into one. On that note, this week we are talking about adaptations. I mentioned in my last video that we were gonna try and do that as kind of a separate topic, and the way that a lot of the discussion went surrounding that, it seemed pretty logical to just go ahead and do that second topic right now. I didn't take any notes or anything before I turned on the camera and started talking, so I apologize in advance if this is incoherent. I began the books versus TV video with a sort of short summary of my issues with people who complain a lot about adaptations. To recap, the original version still exists, it can't be ruined, and it's a different medium, so changes have to be made. All of that being said, there are a lot of legitimate reasons to complain about an adaptation. I was speaking more to the way that people obsess over details that really aren't that huge or important, but sometimes adaptations can raise a lot of interesting questions about what details are important, and certainly cases can be made for a whole range of things. One of the really cool kind of fandom-y conversations that you can have about an adaptation is whether or not a detail is huge and important and the film destroyed everything by changing it, or rather failed by changing it, because the book is still a book and that you can read and pretend the film doesn't exist. I thought the Hunger Games movie was a really faithful, awesome adaptation. They made some weird changes with the pin, like how Katniss gets it and whether or not she was allowed to wear it into the arena. The second change kind of emphasizes for the audience what a symbol the Mockingjay comes to be. It makes it one more very deliberate act of rebellion. So I get that. I can see ways that that change is productive. The adaptations topic idea came up right after The Great Gatsby came out. Gatsby is my favorite book and I was crazy excited for this movie, in part because the casting was pretty flawless. I was pretty pissed at the beginning, I'm not gonna lie. This is terrible, what is happening? Around the time Gatsby makes his entrance, I got really into it, and on the whole, I actually enjoyed it. I loved the excess and the grandeur. It was very Gatsby, and the music was an absolute stroke of genius. My biggest problem with the Gatsby adaptation was Daisy. I think Carey Mulligan was a great choice, but Daisy was far too sympathetic a character. And it's frustrating because there weren't any corresponding, like, overarching changes. Nick's bit about how they were careless and smashed people and things around them is still included in the movie. There were just subtle things that were left out, like her laugh after the beautiful fool line, that to me made significant differences to how the character comes across. And this is one of my favorite things about adaptations. Even when they're maddening for you as a fan of the source material, they give you all this cool new stuff to discuss and pick apart. As long as you're at least making the attempt to be fair and ask yourself why something was changed, you can come up with a lot of really interesting answers, either in defense of the fact that it shouldn't have been changed or justifying and understanding what this change serves to do. I like that. It's been really weird recapping Game of Thrones with all of these readers who have also read the books. There are a lot of really interesting comments filling us in on different details that have been changed. It's super weird to be sitting on this side of it having somebody else explain to me what's different rather than knowing it myself. But some of the most fun conversations in the comments have been between book readers, sort of picking apart why a change was made and what consequences that change is going to have. Obviously, I have little to contribute to those conversations, having not read the books, but they're a lot of fun to read. I now have like 15 minutes worth of video that I have to somehow make be like 4 minutes, so I'm gonna stop talking now. Lorraine, I cannot wait to hear all of your fun thoughts on this topic on Friday.